Mi gente, you already know who it is. It's Danny Limelight. And I need all of you to subscribe to According to Woods podcast on Facebook, YouTube, and all other platforms.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege of talking to a good brother. He's a good friend, but he is talented beyond all comprehension, at least what my feeble mind and the space between my ears can intercept. He is the one and only. I mean, he's a actor, producer, musician, just all types of talent, and the major domo of JLJ Media. He's the one and only James Lott Jr. James, what's good, my man?
It's me. I love your opening. That's a great opening. I love that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I mean, we had a gentleman in the UFC last night that literally got his oil checked by a literal legend of the sport. So, but I guess a weekend of like openings, I would be the soft opening, I guess.
Yeah, soft opening. Say soft opening. Yes, I like that. That's good. I like. No, I'm glad to be on. I'm glad to be on the show. I watched your show. I saw your show with our friend Flobo. That's how I was like, wait a minute, what's this guy doing? Flobo Boy, Obito, we love him. And I saw your show with a few other people. I was like, oh, okay. And you contacted me, and I was like, of course, I'll be on your show.
Yeah, and again, I thank you so much because I mean, for somebody that's accomplished a lot, you know, for you to even take the time to do my little show here, I can't thank you enough.
It's called the village mentality, which I believe in very much so. I believe in the fact that we are all in this together, and especially people of color. We just support each other more. We're taught in Hollywood and other areas that there's a one spot right there. We got to step on each other, knock on each other, go solo from each other to get that spot. No, screw that noise. Let's make 20 spots together and rise together. And what the village does is we support our elders, we support the young people, and everyone in between. And so, and my whole thing is, if someone asks to be on the show, and if they're a person of color especially, I always say yes. I say yes. I always like, sure. I mean, it's like whatever little piece of whatever I can give you, I'll give it to you. But I think it's just called supporting other Black folks. And I have no apology for that.
I like it, and thank you for that. And I like to feel like I do the same, but you know that obviously when you leave it into open to interpretation, it gets lost in the weeds. So you know.
But here's the thing. So there's no other. I'm going to start now. I'm going to start it out now. There is no other race that has to apologize for supporting their own. It never happens. Everybody's just known Latino. I'm part Latino. Latinos, Asian, Jewish, they're all allowed to support each other openly. And we do it, and somehow we have to apply. Well, I'm sorry. No, I support everyone. I do. I love it. I come from a multiracial family. I support everyone. But when it comes to Black men, especially, and Black women, I really want to support them because we do get it really hard here in many areas in America. And I think a lot of times we're taught not to support each other. And I'm like, why can't we come together, whether it's a show or someone helping them with their finances in terms of getting their finances in order, or supporting their business, a restaurant, like there's little things you can do. It could be just resharing a post of theirs that talks about what they do. I'm like, why not? And so, but I've had people get mad. Well, James, I'm like, no, I'm not going to sell. I'm not going to apologize for that. When Black talent comes to me and they don't get any other shows because they're Black, they don't get any asked on any other shows, like, come to me. Let's talk about your project. You're just as talented as anybody else. Let's showcase your movie. Let's showcase your radio show. Why not? And I'm not going to apologize for that.
Well, I'm gonna try and aim to prove you're right. That's what I'm gonna do. But now, obviously, I mean, let's kind of start from the beginning, you know, to kind of unpack some things, because you and I grew up almost kind of same way. We're both Inglewood High School graduates. Inglewood High School.
Yes. What year? Great. What's your class? I'm scared.
03. Sorry.
Okay.
I should have let you go first.
I'm like, but no, I'm like, I mean, you're a child. I graduated in 1987. So
Okay.
33 years ago, I graduated high school. And
Well,
you were like
if it
18
makes
years
you,
ago.
yeah, well, if it makes you feel better, I mean, that's the so do a lot of combat sports, but the first combat sports anything that I ever discovered was actually Saturday night's main event, Bret Hart versus Randy Savage. And with that all being said, I don't think if not for that kind of spark, I wouldn't have followed Julio Cesar Chavez because he competed in a ring, or Mike Tyson, who also competed in a ring. And then when Dan Severn came to the WWF in like 96, 97, and they were talking about he was a cage fighter, he had 3 belts that were non-WWF belts. And I knew, I mean, Vince doesn't let anybody on his TV just all willy-nilly, let alone acknowledge another champion other than his. I mean, famously, Ric Flair came over from WCW, and they just called him the world champion, nothing else, right? So I was just like, who's this guy? And when Jim Ross is saying ultimate cage fighting champion, UFC and whatever, and I was like, I begged my dad to take me down my near butt to that Hollywood Video over there on Manchester, right across from the Vons, and got that
So
UFC.
Hollywood Video was my competitor. I worked at Music Plus Records in Ladera.
Okay.
So that was there's a Facebook group, you guys, where anybody worked at Music Plus back in the 70s and 80s, 90s. So I was the competitor. I also worked at Camelot Music. So I was
Camelot, yes.
I was into all that. So I mean, so when you say Hollywood Video, I know of the competitor, but I know where they were, but I was very much I was the other one. But anyway, so yeah, I know what you mean.
Sometimes old habits die hard. I actually was an employee of Circuit City.
Hey,
and
City.
And even still going into like Best Buy, I'm all like,
So back in the day, folks, it was Circuit City and the Good Guys. They were the ones you went to for your electronics, for your washers and dryers and shit. Then Best Buy came later. But Circuit City, I got my first washer and dryer at Circuit City. I got my Onkyo stereo system at Circuit City back in the 90s. That was all. I had a Circuit City card. I had everything. I was all about Circuit City. So,
I mean, the sleeper hit of the summer that kind of lasted, and it's crazy to say outlasted Circuit City and the Good Guys, but Radio Shack. I got my first watch at Radio Shack. Like a little dog watch, and you pushed a button and you saw the digital time and whatever. I mean, I'm going to Mario Yamasaki.
As I age myself, let me go back to the 70s in Radio Shack when I was a kid, and we had to go pick up a transistor radio kit to put together a radio. That was part of our school projects. I had to go to and get Texas Instruments, folks. I'm naming things that are dead now. They're all long dead. Texas Instruments kits. We had to go there and then go to school. And I went to Lott Jr, which is Inglewood, and we had to put it together. And that was my first Radio Shack experience. Hello, Kirsten. And so I think it's just when you say Radio Shack, I was sad. I really was sad when it went out of business. That Tower Records. I cried when Tower Records went out of business. Even Blockbuster. I didn't like Blockbuster Video. I still kind of like that was part of was around for so long. It makes me sad.
Well, there's one still in Alaska, right?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yes.
Yeah, because the internet reception is so sparse out there that don't even talk about Netflix or whatever. Like it, and It is thriving, especially during the pandemic. It is thriving. Blockbuster Video.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure. But no, Inglewood is something really interesting to me because I came to Inglewood when I was 9 years old. I lived in Mid-City, and I was going to Wilson Crest Elementary School. I live in the area now. They call it Longwood Shores and something like that, but it was actually we just called it Mid-City because it was like I'll give you an idea. It was like La Brea and Olympic, that area over there, which has come up now. I mean, it's totally expensive over there now. And we had and I grew up there, and then my father said, "Let's get a house." And he put down a little money, and the house I'm living in now that I own is the house that I grew up in. So I came back. I left after high school, and I came back. I clawed my way out of Inglewood. I was like, I get out of Inglewood, I gotta leave. But I came back. But we came to Inglewood in 1978, and Inglewood, and at that time there was a lot of white folks, and they left. And all black folks were coming in. There was a lot of white flight, they called it, and the black folks were coming in. And we all had these nice little homes here. They're like 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom homes. They're all about the same. You know how they are. You know them, and they're all about the same. We had a huge yard, which I still have, a huge front and backyard, which was amazing. The airplanes fly over your house, that kind of stuff. It's like all these little things that didn't happen just 6 miles that way. Like it was over here. And I had family in Compton and Watts. So we always go to. There was no 105 freeway, folks. There was no 105. We had to drive out there to Compton streets. And get there, so it was easier for us to live down here because it's just kind of, and then we to the beach and stuff. So Inglewood, I have a mixed feeling about growing up here. I appreciate it now a little more, but it was a very mixed bag. And going to Inglewood High School was a mixed bag too because it was gang infested when I went, and it was a lot.
Yeah, not much change by the time I wandered the halls of Inglewood High. I mean, there was a time, actually, right around when I first started there, we had kind of race. Local Allen.
There's local Allen.
So, yeah, I remember Blockbuster. The game section was my favorite. I think everyone's right.
Oh yeah, definitely. Hi, Local Lobo. Hola.
There you go. Amateur fighter out of North Carolina who just picked up a big win about a week and a half ago. So shout out, actually 2 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Local. That's good.
Absolutely. And thank you for chiming in, good brother. And thank you, Kirsten, for saying, hey, Kirsten. Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was one of those deals where we I think it was Cinco de Mayo would be the big thing, but we call it like bitch day because that's it. We knew if we caused a little bit of ruckus, like I'm pulling back, I'm literally breaking the third wall, fourth wall. But we got together as like ADOS, American descendant of slaves, kids and Latinos, and we were like, hey, we're supposed to be. They think we're going to be warring. We actually had like the local news there, waiting for something to go down, right? So essentially we'd be like, hey, the best thing that's going to happen is we get to go to the beach. So like, I'll punch you, whatever. It was pro wrestling AF, like we were working, right? And then essentially, they're like, school's dismissed. And we all just jumped on like the 115 down Marina Del Rey and went to the beach. That's what we did.
The RTD. RTD. Oh, I missed it. Robert Chan, I missed it. Now it's Metro, but it was the RTD back then. It was. I remember that.
I remember that. Yeah. And Local Lobo says, thank you, sir. No, thank you for doing what you do. And Stephen Tatum, actually my high school classmate and also an Inglewood alum, said, yep, Inglewood High School ditch special. That's exactly what it was. 100%. We'd either do that or the Inglewood swap meet. Those were the two places until Inglewood PD started showing up at the Inglewood swap meet. And then they're like, okay, we can't do there. So let's just go to the beach or, taking the 40 to South Bay Galleria,
Don't you mean also? Well, for me, the 40 took us to the Old Town Mall, or the 40 took us to the Hawthorne Mall, which is still sitting there emptied. The Llama was a special thing. We went to the Llama Mall. That was special. It was huge. It was special. You didn't go out there very often. For us, when we ditched, which I didn't ditch that much. No. If my kids are watching, or grandkids are watching, I was a good student. If I ditched, we did a lot of Hollywood. Also, see, I didn't really ditch a lot because I worked. So I went to school half day most of the time. I got work release program, which you and I talked about that on another thing. And so I had Scrock on several nights, but other nights I got jobs. I started working at 15 years old. We were not rich. I had to make money. My parents were like, you want school rings and things. You got to pay for it yourself. Plus, I like to work. Yeah, even back then, I'm a workaholic now. I liked working back then too. So my jobs are fun. So I got jobs, like I said, at Music Plus Records, YMCA. I was doing all kinds of jobs. So that was I left Inglewood. I went to Hollywood or West LA or the beaches. Whenever we ditched, also we left far away from Inglewood. It's like just go somewhere so we get caught. It's like just that was the thing, just go somewhere. But I always had that one friend who had a car, so we couldn't take the bus. We'd all 10 pile in the car, completely no seatbelts or nothing, completely safe. And we'd make it and get our Bartles and James wine coolers and go off to the beach. I mean, that was our thing back in the 80s. So that's what we used to do.
And again, that's something that didn't even in the late 90s, early 2000s. It's a methodology that permeated for sure. But
Yes.
I mean, obviously, you're like a multimedia, multi-entertainment mogul, starter upper and everything. So when did you first become aware of like entertainment?
I mean, like in my personal life?
Yeah.
Like I can tell you, I was 3 years old. My mother and father both liked entertainment. So there was, and I had older siblings. Everybody, there was a bunch of stuff in there. It was always music, TV, movies, books. Were for racist readers in my family. So it's one of those things that was always introduced to me automatically. The first albums that I remember knowing them by heart by 3-4 years old, not even knowing what I was saying, but knew them by heart. The Jesus Christ Superstar album, which I knew it backwards. I know it backwards before. I know it by heart backwards before. I knew it at 3 years old. Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" album, which I think to this day is still incredible, unfortunately timely album today. And these are early, and I knew them by heart. And my mother also played like the Beatles, and my father liked Barry Manilow, and we liked Aretha Franklin, and we liked Donna Summer, and so there was always that. Plus, my parents liked movies. So I remember seeing The Who's Tommy like at 5 years old, 6 years old. I didn't even know what was going on there. With Tina Turner as the Acid Queen and shit like that. And see movies like Willy Wonka and all these things I love to this day. I started appreciating movies, and so entertainment was something that you live in LA. Also, you just know it's entertainment capital of the world. My mother's from New York, so I go to New York to visit. You knew about Broadway, so you knew about theater. I saw my first concert I went to was Earth, Wind and Fire in 1977, and I remember lots of afros and Egyptian arts. I remember that. The first play I saw, first musical I saw was Evita. And I didn't even know that my uncle took me. And I didn't even know that Patti LuPone was somebody big. I just thought, oh, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. Sure, okay. And then I saw Pippin with Ben Vereen. And I thought, ooh, he can sing. He's funny. He's dramatic. He can dance. I was mesmerized by him. I saw him at the Pantages in Hollywood. And I was just like, wow, he's incredible. And then we saw Roots, and that changed everything for me. As a kid, it was required for the whole country. It was required to watch the original Roots in 1977. 8 nights, we all sat there as a family and watched it, and that changed my life. And that made me just think, wow, I have ancestry that did what for me, and they went through what? Because I didn't know what slavery was. I had no clue what that was until then. And I knew then that I wanted to change lives. Even at 7, 8 years old, I want to change lives. That's how I first got into entertainment. Knew about entertainment.
But I think it's brilliant. I mean, the fact that you were able to kind of be heavily influenced on stuff that your parents loved, right? But maybe not have pursued, but it left an indelible mark in you, right? And I got to know, like, in terms of, I know with me, with pro wrestling, right? I would act it out, right? That was my form of entertainment and still is to this day, right? But I would act it out, with my friends or my sister who's 3 years younger. Sorry, Mara. I'm sorry. Yeah. Because I put her in many a move.
Sorry,
right? And she lives in Inglewood still, right by Circle Park.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So yeah, I mean, when you saw that, I mean, did you, pursue maybe a play or nothing? Nothing.
People are so shocked when I tell them this. I thought drama kids were nerds. I was like, I'm not gonna be. I was one of the popular kids. I was like, drama class. I tried it once. I left after 2 days. I'm like, you guys are all weirdos. I'm out. So I left. And I never pursued. So I got a deep voice at 13. My voice, I went from hi to hi. So I said my balls dropped, I guess, at 13. And I said, okay. So suddenly I was from ma'am to sir. And people kept saying your voice. So I had a dream to be in radio. That was the first thought on my brain was like, I want to go into radio because I had a voice. But I started writing at age 10 years old. So for the last, I'm 51 now. So 41 years ago, I started writing. And I started writing. And I have all that stuff. I have in a big box of my stuff from when I was 12 years old. I one day would go through it one day and do something, I don't know. I wrote my first soap opera in high school called West Destiny with my best friend, Brian Marshall, another Inglewoodian. Never did anything, but I just started writing. I started creating. That was my outlet. You said you were acting it out in role play. Me was writing. So but I never thought I'd go on stage. I had siblings who didn't want to do that. My brother was almost a rapper, a professional rapper. I had another brother who started singing background for Sherelle and Alexander O'Neill and all them. So I knew people in the business. And stuff like that, but I just my father was best friends with Richard Dreyfuss, the actor, award-winning actor. I mean, there's all kind of things that, I knew the business, but I thought that's for somebody else. I'll get a respectable job, I'll become a nurse, and maybe I'll write some books on the side and go about life. There was no thought in my brain until the late 90s. I joined a band, and that dream started to happen a little bit. We didn't go very far. We had a good time. We were in San Francisco. We had a great time, and I'm friends with many of them still. But again, it kind of petered out. Also, I was like, well, that's my little fun thing. I mean, my real job is working for insurance, and I was making all this money, and it was a whole no. But so Woods, I never did any of stuff until my late 30s when I started.
So, what prompted you to make the philosophical and literal shift?
When you hit your late 30s, it just happens. I always say there's different time periods. Late 20s, I always say 27 to 29 is tough. Turning 30, I hated it. Late 30s, you're heading towards 40, which is a weird midpoint for some people for some reason. It just kind of goes, okay, now I'm not, what was cute in my 30s won't be anymore. And then what is my 40s? I'm not really old, but I'm not as young as I used to be. For some of us, my kids were grown at that point. I had 2 daughters who are now grown. I had grandchildren by that time. So it's like, it was my turn. Now it's my turn, bitches. That's for me. So the shift was an internal one. What do I want to do that will make me happy? I am tired of these jobs that literally gave me stomach aches. I'm tired of doing things for people that don't serve me anymore at all. I can't just sit in a cubicle and push papers. Some folks can do that, and that's their life, and they're good. For me, it was a soulless existence. I felt I had stuff inside that I didn't know what it was exactly, but I needed to get it out. And I kept censoring myself up to that point. I can't do that. That's for somebody else. No, I can't do that. And one of the first things I did was I taught myself how to paint. I was afraid to paint. I was afraid to paint. I'm a pretty fearless guy. And my stepmom at the time, a great painter, just said to me, literally, James, stop being a scaredy cat. Go to, at the time it was Pearl, which is this art place in San Francisco. Go to Pearl, get some stretch canvases, some acrylic paints, get some brushes, and excuse my language, fucking do it. Okay. And so I went, she showed me how you get this stuff. And I painted for like a year. And I got over the fear. And that was the first thing. And I actually sold a painting. So I can actually say I sold a painting. $200 at the time. But someone out there has my painting somewhere. There's only like 9 or 10 that are out there that someone has. I've painted a lot since then, but I actually sold one. That was the first shift.
Well, I mean, it's kind of cool because my dad, to an extent, he struggled with this particular scenario of like being this, the tortured artist to an extent, right? My dad was I guess you would call it a busker now, as the kids say, but like we call it a street musician. He played contemporary jazz in Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco, right in front of the cannery. I'm a street kid. Like when I first saw Aladdin, I was just like, hey, he's brown. He runs the streets. For me, it was, when people use the euphemism of like, oh, you're from the streets. Like for me, I was actually from the streets, and my dad made a hell of a living. I mean, working only Friday, Saturday, Sunday, pulling in anything from $700 to $1,200 in a weekend, right? That's just tips and whatever. So yeah. But I mean, the fact that you didn't have to become a starving artist, the fact that your first painting sold, like that's it. Like that's incredible. Which Kristen says. I mean, you're so talented, James, and I couldn't agree with her anymore.
It's just crazy. What it did is it gave me a boost in the direction of not ego or anything. It gave me a boost of like, oh, then it's not for other people. I think also timing has a part in it too. Technology change. You can do your own music on your phone. You can do a show on your phone. You know what I mean? There's things you can do now. You can self-publish books. There are things you can do now. You can do your own series on the web. Like there's things you can do now that wasn't available back then. So it got a little easier. But no, that just gave me the impetus to go, James, you got to change your life. And then I came down to LA. I was living in San Francisco. Went to a friend's anniversary party. Went to Magic Castle. It's in Hollywood. I'm a Magic Castle member. And we went there for dinner. And the girl sitting next to me just happened to be a director on a series. A little series that was kind of popular for 8 years on Fox, House, and said, James, you should be on television. I go, I hear that all the time. James, you should be on television. I hear that all the time. I can get you on television. Okay, I said, here. Well, James, you can take off like 4 or 5 days. We'll pay you. I'll get you in house and get you in scenes wherever you want the show. I'm a person who likes experience. I'm like, sure, I'll do it for fun. Sure, why not? So I was up in San Francisco. Told my boss, like, James, do it, just because it's an experience, right? So because I'm a very thrifty person, it's my Taurus nature, you know about that. I took vacation, so that week I took the whole week off, so I get paid from that job. Then I came to LA and got paid from that job. So I was like, that's how you do it, bitches. So I was like, okay. I went to LA, stayed here at the house with my brother. I've got a place to stay. They filmed at the Fox Studios on Motor and Pico, so not far, not Cheviot Hills, whatever, not far. And when I walked on set, I was like, "This is home." And I met Hugh Laurie, the lead, the house, super nice guy. We see each other. He's like, "Hey, oh my God, nice to see you again." I did an episode, it's episode 4, season 4. It was on the other day. I was like, "There's me." I played Dr. Simpson, and that was my first time ever doing anything on television, on the field. I never acted before my entire life. Never done anything in my life. And that changed my brain. And I started thinking back over the last 20 years as an adult. By then, I was an adult for 20 years. And I was like, okay, is it too late for me? Because, but Hollywood, or would it actually work in my favor? Because it is late. I am late. I'm not trying to compete anybody else. A little fun fact about me also, it's kind of strange. I looked back at my writings, but also in the 90s, I was a hand model for basketball star Scottie Pippen. For some reason, they didn't like his hand. They didn't like his hand. They liked mine. So Intel Electronics had a series of print ads where I had to palm a basketball. And that's my hand doing that. I have the ad. I'll show you one day. I'll post them one day. But I met Scottie Pippen. He's like, nice hands. I go, yeah, like yours, do they? And we had laughing. We were the same coloring. So that's how they used them. So I looked at that going, that was a weird experience too. So I was a hand model for a while. I have some writings, nothing published. I've never been on stage or screen. I went to a #1 show on television and did that. And I was like, that's it. I quit. I'm going back to LA. And it was during the recession. It was 2008, during the recession. People thought I was crazy. I was like, bye, everybody. San Francisco's too expensive. I'm done working these jobs that just are like, they just kill my soul. I was making $200,000 a year. I was living high on the hog. I mean, but my grandmother, may she rest in peace, Arthuretta said to me, not all money is good money, and you should never chase the money. Do what you love, the money will find you. I heard her voice and I was like, I'm out. And I took my savings, my last checks, sold a few things, and got a van and came down to LA and said, I'm back, Inglewood. After 22 years, I'm back.
My goodness. But again, I don't know. To me, I believe in outliers, right? Like certain things, right? And I think whether you knew it or not, I think the person that you had to convince the most was yourself. This is what you were meant to do, because essentially, again, from your writing, from like everything that you were doing, even your parents, their appreciation for the arts, because when most people are, especially parents, they want the best for us. And usually it's the opposite, the complete adverse of what your grandmother told you, right? It's like, chase the money, get a good job, maybe even a government one at that, where you can work your way up the ladder, and stay there regardless of how good or poor that you perform your job, right? And, but you did completely different. You said, screw all that. Like, I'm going to do me. Where does that fearlessness come from?
Apparently, I've been in space since I was born. Apparently, I came out of the womb just James Lott Jr. I don't know. I mean, I hear that all the time. I hear it from my older relatives and cousins. They're like, you were always this. So when I got into entertainment, 13, I celebrated 13 year anniversary. No one was surprised. I mean, like literally, no one was surprised. I mean, I emceed. It sounds weird, but I emceed a funeral a few years ago. My friend Laurel passed away, and when people were coming up to me afterwards, they were like, "Damn." She said, when you left San Francisco, you're going to be a star. She knew it. She goes, I know, I don't want James to leave because he's one of my best friends, but I know when he goes to LA, he's going to be a star. And more person told me that. I never knew that, and she never said it to me. But they said, but no one was surprised when I got in entertainment. No one knew. It was just like, well, about time. And I'm like, but no, it's always a straight-laced guy who went to jobs and they were like, no, not surprised. But I always been a fearless guy. I'm a guy who says yes. Tries it out. I've done things I probably shouldn't have did. Thank God there's no social media back then, so you'll never see them, folks. You'll never know until I write that book. And I like experiences. As I was a kid, I was always interested in things. I think with reading, and which always took me away from reading, having parents who we traveled, having multiracial family. My family's from the Caribbean. My family's from New York. My family's from Louisiana. My family's from Holland. Like it's one of those things where I grew up with lots of influence that made me not just be about this block in Inglewood. That makes a difference. It shows a lot of us of color sometimes where there's no hope. We see a broader world, but some of us do. And you come from a multiracial family too. You know how it is. Some of us come from different culture where we see there's more to life than just the 10 blocks. And that actually feeds into what you'll do and won't do in life, what chances you will or won't take. And so I think that's what's been my life. I mean, when I was a kid, my mother said, I don't have to worry about you because you always just like, I want to do this. Again, Taurus nature. I want to do this. I want to do this. I was very definitive of who James was. I was Jamie until I was 13. I said, no, I'm James now. That's it. No more Jamie. I'm James. And I was very defiant about it. They said they were so scared of me at 13. They were like, you're James. You're James. Okay, you're James. And that's how I was. And so when I was a kid, I did things. I took cartography classes, which I learned how to make maps and read maps. I took classes when I was a kid. Tennis, sports. When I was 5 years old, so here's an example of something. I don't know if it tells the story. I was 5 years old, and I started swimming classes at LA High. And then I was a tadpole. They have like tadpole, pollywog fish, these little things. I was 5, the shortest one of the group of all the kids, and they wanted volunteer to dive off the high diving board. It was like the end of the season, and we had learned all this stuff into the deep end, 8-foot pool. I said, yes, I'll do it. At 5 years old, I'll do it. Climb up the thing. My mother said they sat there with their lump in their throat going, oh my God, is he really? But mother said, but on some level I kept thinking, it's James or Jamie. So I went up there, waved, jumped in, y'all looked. I came up and I was like, and I did it. And that's a representation, I think, of me. I will jump into the deep end and just see what happens.
Wow. I mean, that's whew, man, that's again, for especially right now, right? With in a time of like, I mean, we can say it. It's been disparaging. It's been kind of straight out disrespectful this year, right? But right, and you just like again like a swan, right? And I have a similar experience where like there when I went to Inglewood, the pool, it really didn't like we didn't have a swim team. That wasn't the deal. But right, but there was one day right before the summer that they would open it up, and I was in ROTC, and we got like first dibs and everything like that. And I actually did kind of same thing. I got dared to do a super fly, like splash because I'm part Fijian, so of course he can do the things that Jimmy Snuka can do, right? Like, yeah, why not? And I thought too, right? And so I get on the high dive and like just open faces, 15 feet. And damn it, James, I tell you, I knocked the wind out of me like nothing else. I think I'm still suffering some of the residual effects.
Yeah,
like
yes, exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But you went the other way, like completely.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have see again. So I was born during the civil rights movement. I was in school during desegregation. So I went to busing. So the first 2 years of my life I was in Sherman Oaks. So they were being bused to LA. We were being bused to Sherman Oaks. Didn't work. So I saw the problems there, and I was taught from my family early on, you're black, so you have to work twice as hard to get half as much. I was totally taught that. But I was also taught you got to be strong in your conviction of who you are. So whatever that is, you just got to be that. So I carried that through my school years. I was always, anybody knows me back then would say you were always you. So I was always very much me. And I don't know, I carried that my whole life. I'm always me. I'm just like, whatever that is, I carry it with me because no one else, everybody was just themselves, what a better place would be. I get hard time. I know hard times, trust me. I've been fired at jobs for being black. I didn't get promotions when I was black. I know all that. I know what that is. I know exactly what that is. I've had cops. I know the whole thing. But at the same time, I can't allow them to strip away my spirit. And as black men and black women, we have been stripped down a lot. We're told every day it don't matter. So that's something that stuck with me throughout my whole life. I was like, no, I've had ancestors who endure. My grandmother was a janitor at a school while raising 5 boys in Watts, Nickerson Garden. She did that so that we didn't have to. I can't disrespect that. All my uncles, my father, are all successful. They're all very successful. And my generation was successful also. All of us are college graduates, and I have a doctorate. And, we're all working out because my grandmother came out here from Louisiana with 5 boys by herself and made a life for them. And so that's something that I just will never. I hold on to that. So it's my job to be successful. I look at it, it's our job to be successful. Whatever success is, whatever your success, you don't have to please them and do whatever they say. I'm just saying, whatever you figure out success for you, that's our job. We owe that. That's the least we owe to them because of the fights they had to go through just to live life. I had an aunt who couldn't buy a house because she was black. It was the 70s. It was that long ago, So I'm a homeowner. So that's important to me. She fought for me so I can be a homeowner. That's how I look at it.
And I mean, without saying anything, but I think it's apropos, just heart emojis all around. So thank you, Kirsten. Now, I mean, did you have any trepidation, right? I mean, obviously, this is cool because most people, in this town, as you gotta go through an audition process or whatever. But like, you went to something all fun. I mean, yes, the Magic Castle, for those who don't know, nestled nicely right above Hollywood and Highland, right? It's it's an exclusive thing, right? You're a member, you know these things, right? So, and then you get like, hey, you should be in a movie. I can put, or in TV, I can put you there, right? So, was there any trepidation between like leaving that job to, kind of pursue your dreams? Because again, like 2020, it's hit everybody really hard, right? Whether it be physical, financially, occupationally, what have you, right? So, with that all being said, most people, myself included, are trying to pivot, in what they thought they knew, right? But obviously, 2008, com- completely different terms of affairs, right? Obviously, we're in a recession, but again, you went full bore into what you wanted to do, what your heart felt. And even if you might have not known the nuances and whatever, you knew it felt right. Stepping onto that lot, you knew, hey, this is home. So, I mean, was there any trepidation at all?
No. I don't know if I was naive or whatever. I found out later how hard it is. I just, I realized it gave me the confidence and said, James, um, you may have another good 40 years left. You're a black man in America. If you make it that far, that totally made me just go, okay, James, you got to do it. It's now, to me, it was now or never. So I was on an adrenaline rush. I was on an adrenaline rush of like, I got to get this done. And I felt like I had no competition because I was older. I'm coming back here. I'm older. I have life experience. I know stuff. And one of the things that I learned is what I tell every mentee that I ever mentor, anybody I know, there are always ups and downs. You can't avoid them. The most successful people have ups and downs. Oprah, her channel didn't work at first, and everything she touched turned to gold. The Oprah effect. I mean, like whatever. The channel was floundering. She found a way to come up. So that actually freed me, knowing that when I leave this cushy job with the cushy money, because I like that coin. I'm going to tell you something. I did some good with that coin. I said, but I'm not happy. And that has to have a place in there somewhere. Like, I didn't know what. Because I'm like I was like this person who's like, oh, enlightened. I just didn't want to be happy. And I said, I'm just going to do it. Full bore. Like I said, full bore, go in, act like, I had an actor. Not an actor. It was actually my friend Adolfo Shabadoo Quinones, who, of course, was the lead dancer in the Breaking movies. He starred the LA Lockers with Tony Basil and all that. He's my friend. He said to me, because he's like in his 60s, and he still dances every day. I said, how do you do it? And he said, I remember the excitement of dancing when I was a kid. I keep that kid with me. So I always tell all my mentees, ups and downs are going to happen, and keep that kid in you somewhere. And those will serve you well when you go forward in new ventures. I started 2 businesses in 2009. I was never an entrepreneur my entire life. I was like, what am I doing? Took some classes at Cal State LA. The rest of it, I winged it. The rest of it, I just winged it. I was like, I'll figure this out. And contracts, what are those? And I started the Super Organizer, my organizing business, which is still in business today. And then I started JLJ Media. So I mean, I just kind of like, I'm just going to try this and just see what happens as it goes along. And I had some successes, some fallbacks, but there was no trepidation. I was to answer your question, I was so just like full bore, ready, excited. I partied for like 3 months first. So I was like, I'm gonna have a party because I worked so hard, in San Francisco. I was like, I never get to party, and I was like, I think I financed most of Hollywood, in the bars and restaurants, and I had a good time. And then I got down to business, and I found that every day I loved it. I had a routine. I would get up at 8 in the morning, make my coffee, make my oatmeal, turn on my KTLA back there with Jillian. No, it was Channel 11 with Jillian Barbary because I thought she was hot and stuff, and things like that. And just kind of like, and I would watch and I would start writing out my plan for the day. And I had clients, and it was very exciting for the first time in my life. It's almost like when you own your house versus renting. It's all going to me. Any win, any gain, it's because of my hard work. I earned it. Any loss, any issue, it's still on me. Mm-hmm. It's not anybody else. It's not anybody else. It's the lessons are for me to learn. But those gains, those things, every job I got, every audition I went on and got a national commercial I did Can you hear me? I did that commercial with that guy once. That was kind of fun. But I mean, everything I got is because of my hard work and that I went for it. But I also got at the same time, it could be a crapshoot. The reason why they chose me, you have no idea why they chose me. It may not even be the most talented will always get chosen. Like a client, same thing. It was they chose me because maybe they liked me because I was black. Maybe they liked me because I was funny. Maybe they liked me because I was big. I mean, who knows why they like me? I will prove them right once I get into the job.
Yeah.
That's my thing. But I learned right on from the back. It's just a crapshoot. Sometimes it's random. Ups and downs will happen. Don't chase the money. Do what you love. The money will come to you. Those are things I brought with me.
I love it, and especially with the parable of advice that your friend gave you in terms of like why your why, right? And that's it's different for everyone, right? But obviously, the fact of connecting himself to the kid the first time that he was able to do the thing, right? And you mentioned Tony Basil, right? She still right into her 70s, close to 80s, every day, and as impactful as she was, in her height of the 80s, right? So, I always use the two references. Like, I'm not too much of a movie buff, but I'd say Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash movie with Joaquin Phoenix, as well as Mr. Deeds. And there's parts of it that are similar. In Mr. Deeds, it's that point where like Adam Sandler is, basically going to get the company taken away from him, and he's at the boardroom and everything, and he makes this impassionate speech about, like what this means and everything, and he asks the dais, like the board members, like, what was it that you wanted to be? And he looks at like this Colonel Sanders, like big Texan tycoon. It's like, sir, what did you want to be? I wanted to be a veterinarian. All right. What are you now? I own the largest slaughterhouses in the state of Texas. Like, whoa. Like the little kid you would whoop your butt. Like 100%, right? Completely and utterly, right? And so there's that. And then Johnny Cash, right? What I don't know if it actually happened or not, because obviously, it's loosely based in reality, but theoretically, what Sam Phillips of Sun Records told to Johnny Cash when he went in for his audition, right? And you start off, and he's like, stop. Are you going to sing that same old tired hymnal that everybody's been singing since the beginning of time? I mean, imagine if some car hit you and you were lying in the gutter and you got one last song to sing before you meet the by and by. Are you going to sing that same song, or are you going to sing something different? Now, I don't know if that actually happened or not, right, but I like to believe something loosely based on it has happened. So that I apply, I try as best as possible to try and apply it to myself. But the fact that your friend kind of instilled and entrusted you with that piece of information, and it's something that you are paying forward in a real way in everyone that you're mentoring, which again, mentorship, right? That's so crucial, right? I think it was, Donald Rollins and Dave Chappelle, when they were on Rogan a couple days ago, they talked about it, right? How the Korean culture, like how Donnell kind of learned a little bit of Korean when he was, in the Air Force, right? And the way that he spoke Korean, people even here when they hear him speak, they know he was taught by an elder, right? And they went on this like kind of deal about acknowledgement of how we should treat our elders better, right? How we should be able to have this mentor disciple type relationship with people. And it's not a bad thing, it's not a bad connotation, but again, you have to learn, teacher student, whatever way that you want to use the euphemism, but like it's crucial, because again, my dad taught me, it's like, how the heck are you going to know where you're going if you don't know where you came from?
I always say my ancestors are on my shoulders, always. They're my wings to fly. They all did such amazing things in our own ways. I have an uncle who's a famous drummer in Leimert Park here in the South LA section of LA. For those who don't know, he knows what it is, but for those who don't know that, drummer Lott, my uncle Harold, who made drums out of trees. I have one of his drums. And was a famous musician, you know, in the 70s and 80s here, you know, working it out. And he's still very respected. He's now one of the elders. He's very respected. And I look at that now. I'm one of the elders. I've realized at some point you wake up, and I'm the elder statesman now. I mean, everybody I talk to is younger than I am, basically. So it's like it's funny how you're the young kid, and suddenly you're the one that they're looking at. And so I try to be an example of people that life does not end at 25 or 30. And it's funny. I won an award last year. It's kind of funny for one of my shows on Black Hollywood Live, which is no longer in business. That's another story. My show Breaking Into. I won't be that shady. But I won an award for best series, and I didn't think I was going to win. So my speech went viral last year. People still bring it up to me. But the part of my speech I said, which again I didn't write down, it just came to me in my brain. I said that older people in our business. I said I was 50 years old at the time. I had turned 50. I said I'm 50 years old, and older people in our town are vital, valuable, and viable. I don't know where those words came from for me, but I said that people just cheered it crazy. But you said something that's what it is. We are valuable, we are viable, and we are valuable. You should not just dump us. And I ended my speech with, this is for the old guys. And people come to me this day and go, I'm one of the old guys. It comes to me all the time, these actors stuff. I'm an old guy. I'm like, I'm an old guy too. I mean, and I say that in a loving way that I'm one of the old guys. I'm not saying it to say anything negative. I'm saying it as I have experience. I've been around the block many times. I've done a lot of different things. And there are many of us like that out there who can still do the work, whatever it is. We shouldn't just be thrown aside just because of youth. You know, we're still vital. We still have vitality. We still have things to say. We still have things to contribute. One of my heroes, because I just spoken word, as you know, I'm a musician, is the late Gil Scott-Heron. Thank you, Kirsten. I know you saw my speech. It's on YouTube. My speech is on YouTube. It's on YouTube. It's up there. You know, people say they cried and stuff. I don't know where it came from. They give you 31 seconds. I spoke for a minute and a half. Oops. But they said the producer said that was their favorite speech of the evening, so it's fine. Weird. But no, Gil Scott-Heron and Bobby Womack are two people that I really am. I like. Bobby Womack came out with. You're a big Bobby Womack fan too?
Oh, I have gone down that's what I fell asleep to last night. I mean, I've gone down to Bobby Womack, and I mean, I've always loved and appreciated him, but like I went down a wormhole last night. And
see, you and I are a lot more like them. Even though I don't do wrestling, that's all Greek to me. But other stuff, you and I think are very much like. So Bobby Womack put out an album when he was 67 years old called "The Bravest Man in the Universe," and that song is the bomb. There's so much. You can hear the 67 years in his voice. The lyrics are so profound. So I'm saying if we said to him, "You're done at 40. Bye. Thank you," we would have never gotten this at 67. Gil Scott-Heron, who had some troubles, but when his youth, he had, of course, The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, Whitey on the Moon, Message in the Bottle. I mean, he's my man. But later, he came out of jail. He did I'm New Here. That album is the bomb. There's a song called Running. Everybody check it out. It's called Running by Gil Scott-Heron. And that song inspired me too about how you can't really run from your past. You need to embrace it and move on, basically. And how he tried to run. And you can't run from yourself. But again, if we said to him, "You're done at 45, thank you, have to take several seats," we would have gotten that at 70. So that's what I'm saying. I think there's something to be said that I have stuff to say. I became a recording artist at 45 years old. And I thought, and at first it's about trepidation. I was scared shitless. My first song out. I thought people were gonna laugh me out because it was a dance song. It was a dance song with a message called "I Am Ready" that I wrote. I wrote it in 20 minutes, and I put it out, and it became a minor hit. People loved it, and it's like my signature song. But I was scared to death to think, well, am I too old to do this? Or should I do, like, what am I doing? I got on radio at 45 years old, 46. My dream happened. I did my first TV stuff at 47. I put my first books out at 48. I mean, like, I'm continuing to do stuff. I'm doing my first audio series coming out next Monday, Mistletoe Road, that I wrote, I directed. It's coming out on November 30th, and I'm 51 years old. So I'm just saying that it's kind of like you can keep going. And I look to people out there, and I want to show younger people, you don't have to stop. It's okay. Or it may not happen right then. Just keep going, enjoying yourself, gain the knowledge and experience. And at some point, you keep doing it. There's an old saying, and I'm an old person. I just say sayings all the time. You're going down the road. Now, if you turn off, that's fine sometimes. You turn off, you check out the corner store, or you go over here to the hotel or whatever, you go in the pool, whatever. But get back on the road. Don't just stop and park the car. Nothing will happen. Literally, your car just stays parked and nothing will happen. You keep going down the road, at some point you'll come across something that will be valuable for you and that will work for you. So all the folks out there who get 3 views on their videos, don't despair. I started there also. You have to start somewhere. And I know in the age of instant gratification, we have to get over that at this point. There's no rhyme or reason sometimes why you have 4 or 5 views. It is keep going. And like today, I did a show where we had 56 live people watching. That was the most we had ever had watching in the 6 years of the show live. So I'm saying you start to 56. It was 50 last week, 42. So it's growing. So why is it growing? Who knows? But the point is, keep going, keep going. And I had a year off. I was paralyzed. My face was paralyzed. I couldn't do anything for a year. Then when I came back last year, I was scared again. Scared. Would anybody care? I'm now 50 years old. Would anybody care? And they care.
Whoa. We can't. You were paralyzed last year. What are we doing?
In 2018, the year, I got a severe. I'm glad I'm going to say this a little bit. This is my PSA. I got a severe case of Bell's palsy. If you know what Bell's palsy is, folks out there, it's where you literally have a stroke in your brain. So half my face is paralyzed. I cannot talk, eat, swallow, chew, spit, close my eye, sneeze, think clearly, speak clearly. It was the scariest thing that I went through my entire life. And it's more common than you think, folks. Folks get Bell's palsy all the time. Mild cases to severe. I have friends who 6 years later still have Bell's palsy. I had it for almost a year. And I still have complications from it every once in a while. But it was a year that I had to stop everything. And I was moving myself up in the business. I went to daytime Emmys, that's all that stuff. And then right after that, I couldn't do nothing. I had to cancel everything immediately. And I thought my life was over. I thought it was just over. And I couldn't. There's pictures online. I documented my journey. So there's pictures online, videos online of I did it. My friend of mine said, James, you're an inspiration to people usually. Get out there and show them Bell's palsy. And I was like, oh, okay. So I recorded it. And I can't watch them. It's too painful for me to watch at the moment. But I'm sure I'll watch it at some point. But it's see my face not work, where that's my money maker. I talk. I can't talk. I can't write. I can't anything. It was a trip. So I had a year off. So a year off, and I still came back last year and continued.
That's... Whew. Man, that in itself is inspiring. You know, that year and a half change. And yay, Mr. Root. So there you go.
Yeah. First time, yes.
No, I mean,
go
ahead.
No, I'm saying it's just a trip that it's completely, again, you have ups and downs. Except I knew you have ups and downs in life. But I don't want to sugarcoat it and say, like, I knew I was going to be back. I had no idea. I mean, I tried to kill myself at one point. I mean, I was completely just destitute. I was just like, I couldn't make money, nothing. I mean, I was completely out of it. And it was tough. I made it through. Again, I made it through. I actually wrote a song called I Made It Through, and it's out there. So I had to relearn everything. So when I started to talk again and think clearly again, I started writing songs. I was with AfterBuzz TV at the time. And so I've been gone for a year. I came back to do a show, and now my fans who watch me know that I will cry on TV. I'm a big softie these days. I hate being a softie. I was not always like this. I came back. They brought me flowers, and Kevin and Garland brought me flowers. They cried when they saw me because I've been gone for. I've been gone for a year, and I went on camera, and that was, oh my God, it was so. There's a fight. So I do live TV all the time. I mean, after most TV, I did over 1,000 hours television for them. I mean, I was there 5-6 years. So I mean, I never got nervous. But that's how I was nervous, because my first time, because the last shows I did, I could see my mouth not working correctly. I had an earache, which is what happens. It's a virus that went into my ear and inflamed and collapsed my face. That's what Bell's palsy is. So I can see those last shows a year earlier going, oh my God, my face is moving correctly. So I was nervous about that. Had to put the headphones on because I couldn't have major sound. So I had to tell them to make sure that my sound was turned down. My ear was still sensitive. And I was like, can I lead host a show after a year? Like, that muscle had kind of gone. But again, me being fearless, my life. I could get back to doing this. And I remember they could do I was in the thing, and I forgot who was it, Steve Egbert. I forgot who the engineer was. He was like, hey, James Lott Jr., the legend is back. And he said, 3, 2, 1. I looked at the camera, and we had the chat room going. They always said like this. They had the chat room going. I saw the chat room. People were just like screaming my name. I just started crying, and I was like, I'm James Lott Jr., and I'm back after a year, and I'm sorry. And then I started talking, and then I got into the show, and the show, it went by really fast, as you know, he's quite fast, and then after that, I slowly started to come back, and it was just like, I'm meant to do this. Thank you, God. Obviously, my faith was very important to me. It got me through it. I mean, literally, it got me back to where I am now.
Now, I mean, obviously, through that, I mean, that's a harrowing ordeal, all right? So, what did you learn about yourself? Through that. I mean, it's a metamorphosis, right? To have something, and we all take it for granted. What are health things and whatever, to lose it and then to kind of get it back, and so to it, this opportunity to be able to connect with people. And that's one thing when people talk about like, oh, Hollywood is bad and everything like that. No, it's a chance for a storyteller to essentially connect with people, a character, a way to tell things and everything. So as a creator yourself, the fact that you got to came back and essentially, I mean, to a large degree, perform and present yourself again to your audience, like that had to be just fucking phenomenal.
What happened for me was, I really appreciate this business now. I said I didn't appreciate it before, but now I can tell you, your life can change in an instant, which happened again March 17th when COVID hit. My life changed in an instant. I mean, in terms of health and stuff, because I had a brother who passed away. He died of a heart attack 4 years ago, and I was his last text. Then I got the phone call from the police. So again, I know what life can change in an instant. This added to that collection of like stories. Having rifles pulled on me at a 7-Eleven in West Hollywood, all of a sudden. I mean, it's like connected. It was like the end of the connect the dots. It was like birth, all those experiences. Now you're back. You really have to appreciate life, James. Like at this point, I lost 60 pounds because I was much heavier than this. I lost 60 pounds because my weight was like out of control. I also started seeing friendships differently. Let me sip my tea real quick.
Uh-oh.
Say some alcohol. Actually, yeah, exactly. Under those cups. But no, it was, I found out who my friends were and weren't during that time period. That's what I found. I found out the ones who visited me or called me and the ones who didn't. I found out what I like to do and what I don't in the business. Okay, James, I really won't be an actor anymore. Of course, I've done some acting since then, whatever. But there were roles that were written for me. Not to make ego in, but they were written for me by friends who said, "Come to my show, and I'll do it." But I just realized I want to be a producer. It solidified I wanted to be a director, producer, creator, more. It made me decide that I wanted to help other people. and give them a chance. In this business, a lot of folks don't get chances. That's any race. I mean, I don't have anybody, but but I'm giving them a chance. And that solidified that for me. That not just me. I have a friend who his saying is, "We all win when we all win," and I love that saying. I love that saying so much. If we can't all win together, if I have any little piece of handle in that, help your voice reel, help your demo reel, do a song. I have friends who want to do songs. Flobo and I have a song together, 2 songs together. My friend Caesar and I have songs together. I mean, I just you want a song? I wrote a song and said, Flobo sat right behind me. And our first song was called Music is Our Life. Music is My Life. And I said, you want a song? Say these words into my microphone. And then I said, thank you. I'll be back to you in a few days. And you can find it anywhere. It's called Music is My Life. James Lott Jr. Flobo Voice out there for everybody. And then another time he was like, that was fun. Can I do another song? I go, okay. Here you go. Say these lyrics. And then into the microphone. I'll get back to you in a few days. And that is, the song is called I Play the Songs for You. That's on my 6th album, my 7th album. It's on there. So you can hear that song. And so, yeah, so I just, that was kind of, I like people making people's dreams come true. You want to write a book? That's my friend. You want to write a book? Let's write a book together. So we have an international bestseller we wrote together. So, I mean, it's crazy. It's I just want to help people if I can. Not just about me. It's not just about me. It's about all of us. That's what I got out of it, coming out of that whole thing.
Yeah, and the winning together concept, I think it's absolutely vital, right? And it's something that we lose sight of, and especially as content creators are, most people call it like collaborations and what have you, but to me, when you look at it, and I think my friend of the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast, Eddie Torres, he was just like, when you look at like successful people, right? They have a crew, right? Everybody wants to look at like Howard Stern, right? Howard Stern had his, Robin Quivers and his whole array of characters, right? Joe Rogan, right? Joe Rogan signs $100 million deal with Spotify. But again, Joe Rogan, Joey Diaz, Brendan Schaub, the list goes on and on, right? So you might, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg and the twins and everything, even though it got acrimonious at the end, or even, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, all of them, right? They all had their group, right? And they pushed each other, to success, right? And obviously it's success that are going to last and reverberate long, after they're gone, right? So it's just like we need to support each other, especially as content creators, media people, whatever the euphemism that you subscribe to, right? There is no competition, right? We're not competing. If you get on my show, whatever, like this is it, and we cross-platform, whatever you want to call it. But again, we should all want that for each other. Like I want you to do well, not because I want something from it, but you're in my community, and if you're good, that means my community is good because I have to live in said community. I have to raise kids in my community, right? You got to do whatever your family, dynamic is. That has to exist within this community. So again, you can't have. I mean, anybody that thinks that like, oh, I have to like take from you or whatever, it's so facetious, and it ends up those people that do those things, they end up finding themselves away from the community, and you don't even have to delete them from Facebook. You don't have to lose their number. It just never gets utilized again. It's funny.
It happens. What's funny is that I call it trimming the fat. The fat gets trimmed. Trust me, it does. It just naturally does. And I think for me, I have a crew of people. I have my basics. Like I said, Flo was one of them, and my friend Tony Moore, who does some Edition Days. My friend Walker. They're people that I use all the time for things. And I go, okay, and they use me too. My friend Lucretia Lyon, same thing. We just come on my show. Okay, I'll come on your show. Like you're gonna come on my show. We're gonna have you on my show. Also, I mean that's what I do. This is what we do. Tomorrow I'm interviewing Hamza Mania, who's another wrestling person. I'm interviewing him tomorrow. And it's gonna be fun. But I made sure after Buzz TV kind of went out of business or whatever they're doing over there, I reached out to a lot of the hosts and said, I'm shady as fuck. And I said, okay, what are you doing? Do you need me to help you with anything? I reached out to them. I like your work. I like what you're doing. What can I do for you? And someone was like, can I come on your show? Sure. Come on my show. What do you want to talk about? Let's talk about it. I mean, that's how it should be. You should have a life preserver out for people who are saying, I need some assistance here. I need some help. Folks do it to me. I have bigger celebrities who answer my phone when I call, who say, oh, James, I'll come on your show. That's fine. I'll come on your show. I'll do your show for you. One of my girls, I'm going to give a shout out to Michelle Stafford, who plays Phyllis on Young and the Restless. She's a huge star, daytime. She's literally my friend. And she's somebody who, when she left GH to go back to YNR, she hadn't talked to nobody. She gave me the exclusive. She knew I was safe. She knew I was, I earned it. I earned the spot, first of all. But we're friends. And so she knew it would help me out. It would help her out. Everybody wins. That's the mentality. She can do other shows too. She did later. Everybody still wins. I mean, everybody wins. But she gave me the exclusive first, and I was able to have it first. So it's kind of like that's what we do for each other. My friend Sean Kanan, who was in Karate Kid 3 and all the soaps and everything, who's had a big resurgence right now. But he won his award last year. He thanked me. It's one of what he thanks. Because we're actually friends now. But he calls me up. What do you need? Got it. I call him up. What do you need? Got it. It's that kind of, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And it works. You know what I mean? Like we're support, like we generally support each other. And when the COVID thing happened, he would call me and say, just how you doing? You need anything? Are you okay? Like, we're not just using each other for stuff. We're also friendly and friends also. And I think that's something that my circle knows. If you need to support, I mean, your girlfriend broke up with you, let's talk. Let me take you to breakfast. That's part of it, because it also feeds into the creativity. But it's people. Everything is people. You and I would not even be here in this chat doing all this stuff if nobody watched. If people didn't tune in, they got 10,000, 100 million, gazillion, quadrillion, grillion choices out there. Why the fuck do they want to watch me? So when they do, I genuinely feel glad. Thinking of Thanksgiving this week. I have Thanksgiving for people who choose my content. You buy one of my books, because Black Friday's coming up. I have some new product coming out. If anybody buys one copy, I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. That's, you have so many choices in books. Why give a shit about mine? My music, I have 2 new soundtracks coming out. I scored my first soundtracks. They're both coming out. You don't have to listen to them. They can be like, I don't give a shit about that stuff. They're labors of love for me. But if someone buys the soundtrack, I'm thankful. It's all people business. It's all about people. And we can't forget that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Which, Kirsten says, in terms of, I love your music with Flobito. And shout out to the great Flobito boys. That is talking about a good brother. And it's funny because he actually tried to work me in at AfterBuzz, right? And I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum, where like I've lived in LA for so long and never done a reel, never been on an audition, nothing, whatever. I've had a couple commercials or whatever, but like it just happened. And then doing the MMA stuff for the last 4 years, so been very fortunate. But like he, a mutual friend, Jason Thompson, who also lives in Inglewood, kind of put us together. And it's crazy because I went through the same deal of like, well, I almost feel like a kindred spirit to all of the AfterBuzz family, right? So that's what I ended up doing, kind of the same thing. And you're a part of that too, because you spent some time there in the Burbank North Hollywood studio.
I was there when they were in Encino in a house. I was at the house. Wow. That's how old I am. Wow. When they told me where to go, I was like, Encino, is that a porn studio? Like, what's going on here? And so I went out there, and that's when I went. And it's funny, I'll tell you a story. So this is your show, but I'll tell you a little story. When I was there for a year, I don't want to take over, and it's just no, but I was there I came in through the back door, so to speak. I was a guest host on one of the shows for almost a year. Like, and I started guessing on the shows, and then they said, James, I should go through the process. So I went. Back then, there was a different process than they had later. There's no 8-hour meetings. Like, it was just like, okay, we have a host get together, like maybe an hour and a half long. They showed a video of like what goes on there, answer some questions, done. Well, I get there, everyone who was new knew who I was. They're like, you're on that Dish and Day show, or you're on that Impastor show. I did like 4 or 5 shows by then. I'm like, yeah. So then they had Kevin DeGaro came through with some famous people, and so the people who were supposed to run it were like busy kind of talking to him. They go, James, why don't you tell people how everything's going here? So I conducted my own orientation meeting. The video didn't work, so I told him everything else goes on here. I'm like, so there's Studio B and Studio C. I told him the whole thing. And then I met Kevin briefly. I said hi to him. He said hi. And then later that year at the Christmas party, before the Christmas party, they had a big host orientation thing for everybody. And they should do one-on-ones with you. So after this, I'm going to go up and go up to him and say something to him. I walk up to him, and he's like, you're James Lott Jr. I go, yes, I am. And because Kevin and I are close in age, I'm literally one of the older ones in the group. He's like, Maria and I are huge fans of yours. We love your hosting. You're so good. I'm like, I didn't know you guys knew who I was. Oh no, we know who you are, James. Trust me, everybody knows who you are. And now it's my whole thing to AfterBuzz. And I said I created shows for them. I did over 1,000 hours of television. And I did a lot for AfterBuzz TV and Black Hollywood Live and Book Circle Online and Popcorn Talk. I was one of the few hosts that was sanctioned across all platforms for them, because I just loved what I did. And they loved my energy, and I was very much not a troublemaker. I mean, I don't lay down if I walk on me. But I had a work ethic. And they would tell me. I remember Roxy, that worked there, Roxy Stry, who I love, said to me, I said, anybody do a General Hospital after show? She's like, no. She goes, get it, get some hosts, put together a show for me and pitch it. So I went out and did it. Came back years later. She said to me, James, I know you now, but back then I was so shocked that you actually did it. I've told 100 hosts by then to do that, and none of them would do it. I came back with a show rundown. I hired 4 people that I found on Craigslist, and we had a show ready. So they're like, I guess I impressed them enough that I was able to create shows after that and do shows. And I said over 1,000 hours. So AfterBuzz TV is a very special place in my heart. I'm sad it's not out there doing what it did before, but many of the hosts, producers, engineers, I'm friends with and work with many of them. I work with many of them on projects now because, again, we support each other. And many AfterBuzz have gone on to things that are much larger than AfterBuzz. And I'm friends with them, like my friend AJ Gibson and a few others. They're doing things. They're on Wendy and stuff, and we're friends. And when I ask them, we call my show. They call my show. They answer the phone. We're all part of the same. It's like college. Like we're all part of the same. And so what I'm finding is some of you guys who are later. I'm meeting a lot of the later ones now who know who I am, but I don't know who they are. I'm like, I remember Flobo was interviewing Leslie Colon, who does all the wrestling stuff too. And I said in the chat room, I don't know if we ever met or anything, but you're so cute. And she said to me, she said on his show, James, you won't remember this, but he said something to me very profound. That I asked him a question saying, can you balance home, family, and work? And he said no. James was like, no, there's no equal balance. They said, but the way he told me a bit, it stuck with me in a way that it helped her. Apparently, I remember it's not something I would say, but now we're in talks, do some stuff together. But I'm like, the newer ones, I feel bad you guys didn't get the full experience like some of us old timers there, because it was a magical place for a long time, and so it's like college.
No, absolutely. And again, like you said, that's been the fortunate part of this whole process and seeing the development, because I mean, technically as we knew AfterBuzz, pre-March, right? It doesn't exist to that kind of ethos right now, right? So, that's part of the fun, right? Where, like having Flobo on, which again, it was a really cool deal because like, I was like, man, did I, by not having a reel, did I like screw up my chances of whatever the hell chances are supposed to be? And he's like, dude, like we're doing what you're doing, like, and again, like peripheral, I was always watching them when I'd be watching shows like on my way back from like working MMA shows or doing interviews and stuff like that. I would have AfterBuzz on, and I would be like, and I think I was even driving Uber, right? And I drove by the studio, and I was like, oh my god, like I literally live like 15 minutes away, or 45 in LA traffic, either way. But yeah, I was just like, damn, that's the place. And so like having Flo on, having George Ramosa or Leslie who's come on, like it, and having it's just like it is a special place, and whether you were there physically, in any incarnation, or just like me, watched all you guys do your thing, right? And been able to do that and to see, especially during the pandemic. I mean, Steve Kaufman, look at what that dude is doing.
Steve, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just like he's the podcast king, theoretically speaking, right? And yeah, and it's just cool to see how the pivot happened for everybody involved, But again, so to it, if you're one of the, the I guess the tenured alumni, right?
Yes.
Theoretically speaking, you were the first to kind of pivot and do your own thing with JLJ Media and everything like that. So again, we're all kind of learning. We're the tentacles of you, and you're like the grandmaster.
Well, it's funny. When the pandemic, thank you, as I say, but when the pandemic happened, I had to make a decision. I had to make a living decision. When the pandemic happened, then the Black Lives Matter stuff was starting to happen. I had to make several decisions on what kind of content and what I was going to do or not do. And I knew it was going to be on my own. And luckily, I have a new computer. I have ring lights. I have all kinds of stuff. I had the equipment, so that wasn't a problem. I actually have an actual camera. It's over there. Actual stuff. That wasn't a problem. It was just like, what do I want to do? And how do I want it to look? Because now I'm not under the umbrella of someone else. I was part of several places, AfterBuzz TV, and a place called The After Party, which was here in Inglewood. The after party was over at the La Cienega building on Imperial and La Cienega. Yeah, and it was Black, female owned, from Texas. They had a studio, and so I had my Extra Connection show was there for a year, and so I was part of two great places, and they both shut down. So they stopped doing programs. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to figure this out. And so I made the decision to become my own online network, which is JLJ Media. Now you're thinking just like, I'll just make an online network. Okay, it's not that simple, kids. I am still building it. I'm still working it out, but it's working out fine. I've worked 35 shows on my network. People, and also part of the problem was I had to find to make money too. So folks pay me to have their content on my network, and I help produce it or put it up and promote it. And so now I have an income stream coming in. Plus, I get content. It's not mine, but it's mine. My network. It's not mine. So my identity is getting. So I'm basically at NBC or CBS or whatever online now because it's growing bigger and bigger. We debuted our first audio soap opera, Forever and a Day. It was very successful. Yeah, I mean it's crazy. Like I said, I have all this stuff coming out. And the same with my books. I said, okay, well, people need to read. They're home. So I ramped up. I said, I want to be the James Patterson of short stories. I started the short story project, and I have 35 books, and most of them written by me. Some are co-written. I have 5 co-writers. We all write books. So again, I'm doing things I said I was going to do: help people out, give them a chance, and still be creative and put out content. Then I was like, my music. People need to listen to stuff. They're at home. I mean, literally, the pandemic really did it through creativity just started flowing out of me, and I had all these songs because last year was my return. That was the return year. It was like return to everything. So every project was like a major thing. It was return to this. So my album last year was called Salty Clouds and Sunflower Dreams. And it's 17 songs. I couldn't make it any shorter. I had all these songs. I recorded over 30 songs. 17 songs in very different styles. I started singing on some of the tracks. I was normally just a spoken word artist, but I started singing on there. And so I got a band, Third Dimension. So it's James Lott Jr. Third Dimension. I had the album cover commissioned. I decided to go big. I said, I want to go big. It was my 4th album. I wanted to go big. And I said, I'm going to do this. And it was very successful. I loved them. I'm very proud of that album. Very, very proud of that album. And then this year, I was like, okay, well, this year now, it's like, well, what do I have in the vault? So far I've released 2 EPs and 2 albums this year of material that was previously recorded. One of my albums is called Songs from a Dark Place. I'm very proud of it because it's 7 or 8 songs that I was afraid to put out because they were from my first days coming out of Bell's palsy, being paralyzed. And it was me and my keyboard. It was me, my keyboard, and drum machine. And it's very raw. It did very well. I was shocked. I released it. My producer said, James, release it. I released it, and I was very shocked. But I guess in the pandemic, I had a song called Isolation that actually worked. But I talk about being not happy. Most of my music's happy, upbeat, with a message. It's a very dark album. I talk about wanting to kill myself. I talk about my face being paralyzed. I talk about not wanting to live. It's very dark. But people responded to it because this time period, it fit. So I made conscious decisions. And the first decision I made out of all of that was I got to do interviews. People are home now. They have nothing else to do. So I started doing 5 interviews a day, 5 days a week. I did that for 3 months straight.
What?
And I just started interviewing people, all my friends, my celebrity friends, non-celebrity friends. And I did that for 3 months straight. And it kept me going. It was a routine. So I wouldn't go crazy. And then I started a late night talk show, that's how we got connected. Talk a lot with James Lott Jr. on IG. I go on there 10 o'clock nightly. I've done 114 episodes of that. And that was because people get anxiety, depression, get scared at night. I always say that when the sound goes down, the sound turns up in our brains. So I thought if the last thing happens, if you just hear my voice, we laugh and talk, and celebrity friends come through, and I've had therapists come on. Like it's a free flowing, free form thing. I drink on, I cuss, whatever. It's become a family. We support each other on there. People support each other. It's Kirsten's one of them. She's always on there. Oh, thank you. Like my album. And it's one of those things where I didn't want to go crazy. But I also want to make a difference. And when Black Lives Matter happened, all my friends who want to talk, come on, let's talk about it. Black, white, whatever, Republican, I had everybody on. And it's like, and so that's what I've done. And I just I create this online network that I'm this little mini empire, 13 years in, that makes me tired most of the time. But I couldn't be happier. I mean, I just think that there's so much more that we can do.
I love it. And especially the fact that, again, to step away. I mean, that 200,000, that's just, it's not crazy, but I mean, knowing what I know of you,
crazy.
No, but I mean, for you, it's not crazy, right? Because you're that guy, right? The self-starter, the motivator, the figuring things out, kind of steward, and whether you knew it or not, this is what you've become. And again, 13 years in, like, you have built an empire, right? You've built a media empire that is not only your own, but the fact that you could be proud of the output, the artistic output that you're expelling, as well as encourage and enrich those around you, not just through your arts, but also kind of taking, notice of people that maybe have no voice, or don't feel like they have a platform to basically do what you're doing, so you're basically essentially, basically they can hitch their train, their wagon to you and just go on the trip.
I hope so now, and I hope it means something to them in the sense that I like to encourage people. So I'm a cheerleader. I'm a big cheerleader. I'm just and I had somebody tell me once, wrote to me a DM, was like, you're such a nice person. I go, well, thank you. He goes, no, but I mean it in the sense that you actually retweet your friend's stuff on your page. Like it's not all just about you. And for me, because I'm older and they're younger, so I'm older. I'm like, this is so ridiculous to me. Like that people. I mean, I don't even think like that way. I just think, well, you have something going on. I'm going to retweet it. I mean, if you want me to retweet, I'll retweet it. I like to showcase my friends. But like, apparently, it's a thing that there are people who will not, I guess, not share your stuff, or don't really like your stuff. I mean, I guess I get 5 likes on this one post, but I post a picture about cheese and I get 100. That kind of thing. And that happens, right? But I'm a person who believes if I have friends who have, I have a friend who does yoga, so I post his stuff on my page. Like, it's not, I mean, yes, we're here to promote ourselves. Trust me, I'm the king of plugging. Everybody in the whole industry knows me. It's a big joke. We laugh about it. I have no shame. I will talk about every project I have going on. I don't give a fuck. But at the same time, I will support everybody else's projects too. There's something that's positive that I feel like is important. I will talk about that also. I just mentioned Flowo like 2 or 3 times. My friend, Sean. I mentioned people. I think these are folks that are doing great things. My friend Tony Morris, Edition Days, he's doing and more please, and so more please. I think they're all important things, and I don't think it has to be all about me. I mean, it can be about me and other people. Like there's room for me and other folks and their projects. I just think it's so important to. I mean, it's just part of my life. I'm not even trying to do it to be noble or anything. It's just that I support them. I really do support my friends and what they're doing. And if there's something that I think people need to see, I will pass it along.
I love it. And as do I, Kirsten, but I always enjoy talk a lot with the James Lott Jr. I too am a fan, 100%. I mean, it was essentially the catalyst to do this. So.
Well, I get on there sometimes. I have to watch myself. I get on there and I get a little loose sometimes. It's fun. I don't care. It's fun. Or I get very on my soapbox. I mean, there are times we've had some very serious issues on my show, and many of my shows are on my YouTube channel. You can actually watch them. I repost them, not all of them, but a lot of them are on there. But I have ideas. The fans, we start talking. We get into some subjects. No subject is off limits. You can talk about anything on my show. And they ask me questions about certain things. I will get into it. And I'm not a preacher. I am an ordained minister, but I'm not a preacher. I have a doctorate in divinity, but I'm not a preacher. But I do have certain ideas, and I will talk about them, and I will bring them up, and I think they're important to hear. And that's when we were talking last night. That's what I was talking about supporting each other and supporting your own. And that was one of the things we talked about. I'm just like, and another person that you asked me too to be on this show. I was like, sure, I'll be on your show. I mean, that's the whole point, is that we should be supporting each other. It's like, we're all in this together. I mean, it's so tough in this bit. This business is not for the faint at heart. And I tell people all of this not. And I tell people you have to have a thick skin. You have to have an open mind. You have to be able to contort your thoughts and ideas and everything, because 1 minute you're here and 1 minute you're there, and 1 minute you're here, and it's dedication. It's hard work. It's not. We make it look easy, but it's not. Doing this, the technology of it. Do you use StreamYard? Do you use Zoom? Do you use this? I mean, there's so many decisions you have to make with opening sequences and slates and logos. I mean, it's a lot that goes on to these shows. We love doing them to get interviews. To have anybody want to talk to you, that's booking guests. Let's talk about that for a second. That's a hard thing. Is a book a guest to have them actually say, "I have that time period ready." It's like, oh my goodness, like it's like herding cats. Trying to get people to do stuff. It's a lot of hard work, and we work hard. And again, for some of us who aren't white, blonde, blue-eyed, or brown-eyed, and chiseled body, and all these, and 25 years old, we have to work extra harder. We just have to. And that's women too. I mean, women don't know this. It's everybody. We have to work really hard. Things aren't handed to us. Occasionally, I have a few things handed to me. Occasionally, but I feel like it was born out of the hard work that I put in the relationships and with the actual work. Let your work speak for itself. If one person is watching your show every week, make sure that show is fucking good.
Yeah.
Do the best show you can, because all you need is one pair of eyes, the right pair of eyes, to say, I need you for the MMA. I don't know what you guys do over there, but whatever the big thing is. I mean, seriously, they just need one pair. Just one pair of eyes to look at you and go, I want you. and they give you a paying job, and you're John LaCosta or Mark Donica or Steve Kaufman, all these people who were from AfterBuzz I knew them when. I knew them all when. I knew them all when. And I have friends who I've watched blow up, in their various ways. And like you said, watching it's great. It's great to watch them.
No, and it's, especially, this time. So, talking about the power of community, and the power of I was fortunate enough to be on a couple of my friends' podcasts that had StreamYard and whatever. And they were like, hey, dude, you should do something, right? And it's funny how this very show, like, I didn't do anything of note when the pandemic happened. I was just like, I hoarded the toilet paper and whatever. Like, I did the whole thing. I'm a no shame, right? Yeah. But like right around July, I was just like, got invited to the show, and they were like, "This is what we use. Maybe you should try it and whatever." Then it became a part of like, okay, if it's this much amount a month, that I'm paying with not a lot of income coming in, I have to justify that to the missus, right? So I'm like, how much value can I get out of $25 a month, right? True. So I'm like, if I do this, whatever. I'm not a mathematician, but I just started working out, whatever. And then I did like the first 5, and then people started like, hey, like, I want to come on the show, or like whatever, or like people started sending me. Like, I have a dude in Alabama, and he was like, sends me all kinds of MMA fighters and pro wrestlers and whatever. Like, literally, like 70% of the interviews that I've done over the pandemic, it's been about everybody he sent me, right? But
I have to stop you for a second. Your sound changed.
Oh, yeah. So I was just saying, like, the power of community. Like him in Alabama sending me from like everywhere. It's just nuts. But again, it's like we want each other to do well. So, like, I think just in July, and it's not to toot my own horn, but like for me, it was my way of kind of interpreting the world around me. Every time I saw like a political post and people fighting or blah blah blah, I just cathartically was like, let me see who wants to do a podcast. So we're at like 210 episodes in since July.
You're a beast. You're a beast. No, I was saying your sound has changed all of a sudden. You're like sounding far away.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah, that's one of the nuances with StreamYard, unfortunately.
But you were fine. All of a sudden, I was say you sound far away. I was saying you sound far away. I was like, oh, okay. I don't know anything of it. But that's the thing is you have it's you never know. You start something, and that's the road you go on. And I said you're a beast. I was looking at your thing. You have all these interviews. I'm like, you do a lot of interviews too. I said I don't know anything about these things. I kind of watched a few of them to see what's going on, but I was like impressed. You had a whole list of people you interviewed. Well, it's when people are watching like Pokemon Go or doing the Pokemon Go or whatever your thing might be, like I started looking around because like I went to radio school back in the early 2000s, and you had to be bound by FCC regulations, and your success meant like literally interning for 5 to 15 years at like a no-name station, only to come back here to LA to hopefully ply your trade there, and you were living in like a squat house essentially, right, with 15 other DJs that were pining for the same spot. Like I understand that. So to tell an 18-year-old me that like, oh, you're 20 years away from like you actually having the capability of a studio, video or audio in the corner of your living room, like I would have said you're fucking mad. Like, I would have burned you at the stake. I would have Salem witch trials. Like, oh, don't get that foolishness out of here. Get from here. It's crazy. But that's exactly what happened, And again, it's not just me. Like, I remember walking into like Best Buy with my son who wanted a video game and seeing there's an actual section of like audio equipment to do the thing, right? And just like if for somebody that never felt like I fit in, right? For somebody that never felt like I had a talent,
right? To have this, right? To be able to connect with people, right? Not just the people on your show, but also the people that interact, right? It's so, it's amazing. And it's just like, I want more of it. Who wants to? Let's do it. I don't care. Name, no name. Does not matter. You have a
Right.
story. Let's hear about it.
It's very interesting because I've never pictured that. I mean, back in the day, you had to go to Columbia Radio Broadcasting School, and that was all big to get on the radio. I got a radio show because somebody liked my blog, and they said, can you do a show?" I was like, "Sure, I can do a show." Still doing that show, 300 episodes later. But it's just funny that it's like I never imagined that I'd be a recording artist or a TV host or a network owner. I mean, that was never in the realm of even thought, because back then when I was coming up, it was such. I mean, this wasn't even here. There was. I mean, we didn't have CDs at the time yet. I mean, it was like. I mean, there was nothing. I mean, there's nothing to even for me to even aspire to this. It was just not there. So now I'm living my dream as I go along. Like the dream just kind of happens as I'm like, I want to do that. That becomes a new dream, and then I just do it. You know what I mean? I go for it at least. I mean, that's what it is now. But all this stuff, I never. And again, like you said, at your home, it's all my home. Everything's here. Me and my baby Yoda sitting over here. I mean, it's like, wait, what? I mean, what? I mean, like my little baby, my collection. And then I got that one. I got the small one, and then of course I do the Mandalorian after show. So then I have. So big fan. But anyway, that's no story. I'm a Star Wars nerd, so no story. I never thought in a million years that I would find like-minded people who want to write with me or do music with me or do shows with that co-host. I mean, I never thought that wasn't even a thought in my brain. So I kind of feel like you. It's exciting. I'm having a good time. I mean, I love it. I'm having a good time. I hate to sound like this, but I mean, the pandemic's been bad in other ways, but for me, I have actually gained this year. It's one of my better years, I would have to say, in terms of financially and everything. It was kind of crazy, and I didn't get a stimulus check, folks. I didn't get help from the government. I tried. I didn't get anything. I had to figure it out. I had to fucking figure it out, and so I did. I'm a survivor, so I was like, I gotta, I don't want to like sell my body on the corner or anything, but no one wants to see that. So I said, let me find ways to make some legitimate money, because I'm like, I don't know if I want to go over to Crenshaw and Crenshaw and Florence next time we're selling math and see if I can sell myself. That's just not gonna. They don't want that.
I love it. And Kirsten says, "I love your baby Yodas." Hashtag baby Yodas.
Yes, Mandalorian after show Fridays on JLJ Media. Yes.
There it is. Now I gotta ask, like, obviously there's ups and downs, like we were talking about earlier, but like, what's been the most gratifying kind of, whether it be moment or just idea that you've had from this whole process?
Winning the award last year, I won a Capital City Web Award. I was nominated for 2, Best Host and Best News Entertainment Series, and also I was going to present for Best Actress. So this award show was started by Anthony Anderson, and it's for people of color. And the award show is based in DC. I love the Chocolate City, and it was the first annual. And so I was supported. I'm friends with him, so I wanted to support him in this venture where he wanted to showcase Black and brown talent. Now, there were white people who were nominated also, but your shows had to be 70% Black or brown. That was the criteria. But anybody could, do it. That's the only criteria. He wanted to do something that the Emmys weren't doing. He wanted to do something that the Golden Globes weren't. He wanted to do something that was for web and TV based, that showcased our people. So I said, I will show up and just clean the backstage. Whatever you want me to do, I'll come to DC, whatever. Well, I got nominated for 2 awards, and which was gratifying enough. I just never thought my show Breaking Into, which had celebrated 4 years at Black Hollywood Live at the Best TV, and that show I worked very hard on. Breaking Into was my baby of showcasing talent and finding out what makes them tick. It was behind the scenes. And I love that show with all my heart. To go to DC, I had so many problems getting there. My flight fell apart, and I got stuck in Chicago. Then I had to take a train, and then that broke down. And literally everyone was charting my progress across the country. And I was like, I'm going to get there. I don't care. I arrived in DC at 3:00 in the afternoon. The award show started red carpet at 5. I had to get from the train station, get to my hotel, change clothes to my tuxedo, also eat something because I was starving, and then head over to the venue. So I literally got there just in time for red carpet to be interviewed. So I was just, it was like, you're here. I was like, I made it. So I'm sitting there in the audience with all these brown people. It was just, there were other there too, but all these beautiful brown people who were in my business. Some who I knew, some who I didn't know. And the first award happened. I lost. Best host. I didn't think I was going to win. I thought, they're almost the East Coast. I'm West Coast. I'm old. I'm not worried about it. So I had a little shot of whiskey at one point, and I took my bow tie off. So if you watch my video, you're like, why is there a bow tie hanging off him? I didn't think I was going to win. So halfway through the thing, it's time for Best News Entertainment Series. And I was sitting in the front row. I was seat number 1 in the front row. And I'm looking up, and I see them, and I see the red envelope, which I see over there somewhere. And when they said the winner is working into a James Lott Jr., my whole body, it was like a whole out-of-body experience. I'd never won anything in my life before like that. I mean, I'm a spelling bee champion. I won that twice back in high school, in junior high school, but I never really won anything. I was always the fan favorite. I never won nothing. So I was like, this is my first after, at that point, it was 12 years in the business. I won my first award for media. So that was like a, okay, James, you've done. Some people think your work, because it was voted on by my peers, they thought my work was worth it. Again, I had no speech prepared, and so again, you go to my YouTube channel to see my speech on there. But it's that was most gratifying. I just felt like, wow, I worked really hard for 12 years. It solidified my decision that I made the right choice 12 years ago. And then one other time that was very gratifying, I was quoted in Forbes magazine about 3 or 4 years ago for my organizing world. And that was something, but that wasn't it. I was featured in Forbes magazine last year. And I didn't know they were going to feature me. And they featured my organizing business, Super Organizer, LLC. And that was I got so many hits off of that. That was the most gratifying in that world of my entrepreneurship. So I've had one of each now. Something from my media world, something from my organizing world, both entrepreneurship at its best, I guess. Those are my 2 most gratifying. And maybe one more thing would be becoming an international bestseller this year. At 51 years old, our book, You Can Overcome Anything, Volume 1, went number 1 in 4 countries and 9 categories. So I was very shocked by that. I couldn't believe it.
I'm not shocked at all, and again, if you could have, a couple caveats, those are not too shabby, good sir. Just saying.
Thank you. So those are all, again, not even ego-driven stuff. It's more like just validation that my work means something to somebody, and that that I made the right decision, basically, that to go into this business. That it's hard, but occasionally good things happen too. I mean, again, back to the ups and downs. Sometimes great things can happen when you least expect it. So have faith, keep it moving, and you never know.
Absolutely. I mean, those are words to live by, and those are words that you apply yourself. But obviously, James, I mean, doing so many things, there have been people who have supported you along the way. Some of them have appeared in the chat, so thank you, Kirsten. But I want you to get some shout outs and acknowledgement on who has helped you along your path.
Yeah, I want to thank Tony Moore, especially, and Peter Ramos, Mark J. Freeman, Rod Vias. They got me to television. So, I mean, they got me to AfterBuzz. They got me into hosting. I never thought I'd be a host. So because of them, that I'm here for that. I want to thank Mr. Serafini, who continues to work with me on all my creation of my new network. She's behind the scenes with me. Really, I mean, great partner in crime. We're working out. I want to give her a shout out. She doesn't get enough credit. She's very talented. Again, I'm using all these young kids for me. I mean, they're all young. Give a shout out to them. I want to give a shout out to K.G. Hutchison because he created a show called Forever and a Day, a soap opera. The soap opera genre is 90 years old this year. And he created a soap opera for the audio world. And because he did that, and I said yes, it changed the trajectory of my whole business. And now I have 7 shows in the works, audio shows. So it's like he started me on a new path that I didn't even realize. And to have people read my words is very gratifying also. Everybody read my words, very gratifying, acting my words out. So I want to give a shout out to him because he really did kind of help change my life there. I want to give a shout out to my friend Brian Leone, who got me on the radio, adrenalineradio.com. My show, the SR show with James Lott Jr., over 300 episodes, almost 6 years. The radio was my dream. To do the radio was something that I just thought was my dream. I want to give a shout out to one of my producers, Palms, who said, James, do a song. Write a song right now. And we've been working together for the last 5 years. And so he's somebody who, he knows me. He knows my sensibility. He knows how to push me. I want to give a shout out to my other producer friend. He goes under the Sweet Kill, Pete Mills, who's worked with everybody from Michael Jackson to Sheryl Crow, pushed me to do a song, which will come out next year, called Lost and Found, where I sing in a key I've never sang in before. He said, trust me. And the song is really good. It's one of my best songs ever. I mean, he produced the F out of it. And he's a great guy, very supportive, a huge talent. So my friends, Michael DeBarge, yes, one of the DeBarges, friend of mine. I want to say hi to shout out to him. He's a great guy, offers support. Sean Kanan, Michelle Stafford, the folks at Y&R, Young and Restless, the folks at the Bold and the Beautiful, the folks at General Hospital, all answer the phone. They send me guests. Disney, they send me guests. My shows are successful because you guys are supportive of me, especially Matt Kane, Eva Basler, great people who just support everything that I do. So yeah, I think it's like those people I want to give shout outs to. I mean, there's many more, but those are the ones for sure that I just want to make sure I give their shout outs to.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. And again, it takes a village, to raise, and you've got a pretty strong, a village behind you, and it's absolutely awesome. And I want to shout out Kirsten. Kirsten is.
Well, let me tell you. So here's something about her. She's a fan. I think she's been a fan of mine from the beginning. I wrote a song for her and her mother years ago called Kirsten and Mary. That was very successful, actually. It's a dance song. You can hear it on any streaming service. And I cast her in a small role in Mistletoe Road that's coming out next Monday. So she plays the mail lady in a couple episodes. And Kirsten, I'll see you in a couple days when we record another episode. So again, making dreams come true. She wanted to come on. I said, sure. I asked anybody, you want to come on? I'm asking anybody. I'm like, does anybody want to do audio work, voice work? Come to me. I'll put you on. I have shows that I can put you on. And so you have to be a professional. I'm helping. I purposely reached out to people who are non-union, who wanted experience, who wanted to try this. All my shows are set up that way. So anybody wants to come on a show, talk to me. Maybe I have a role for you. Same for you too. Whether you want to do some voice work, up to you. Just tell me you want to be on the show. I'm creating all kinds of content. Trust me, all kinds of content. So you're welcome if you want a show too.
We thank you for everything you're doing. But and she says thank you for the shout out. Thank you. You're the real MVP, Kirsten. So
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, obviously, I mean, the plug everything that you've got going. I mean, you've got literally like 1,000 pounds in the fire. So let's go ahead and have at it, my man.
I'm going to show you this. So it's already online. This is the JLJ Media Christmas Media Special. This schedule is, I have all these shows that are Christmas themed coming out starting November 30th. So James Lott Jr. said, take that, Hallmark Channel. I'm doing my own version of Christmas. All kinds of Christmas goodness. So follow me at JLJ Media everywhere, and you'll know more about each thing that comes out. But I'll just tell you, my music is everywhere. 2 soundtracks coming out. Vex the movie, which is out now, independent film by my friend Dwayne Parker from New York. I scored a soundtrack. My first time ever doing that. I was inspired. I wrote all the songs, and I co-wrote 2 of them, but wrote all the songs. And other artists I would duet on them. My first duet is on there. My girl Coney Alley, and that's coming out this Black Friday. And Mistletoe Road. I wrote the theme song for it, of course, but I wrote the songs that come out it comes out after every episode is a new song that's related to the episode. That soundtrack's being released December 9th. I wrote all the songs for that, but it's sung by the cast. So I'm leading to, I want to do a musical one day. I want to write a musical. That's my dream. So it's a step closer to that. So Flobo has 4 songs on it. He's part of 4 songs on it because he's one of the leads in the show. And that show comes out November 30th. Very excited. Claus the series. Yes, Santa Claus. What if he had a child and a grandchild? What if his grandchild was half black? That series comes out in December. Very interesting audio series. So I'm very excited. Great cast. The guy who plays Santa, Dave Moxley, is amazing. So he took Santa Claus and made it into a drama, basically. So that's coming out in December. Crazy. I know, crazy. Out of my own brain. Crazy.
No, it's brilliant, and I want to watch and listen to all of it. All of it. You know,
it's very good. So that's music and stuff. Books. I have a new book coming out on Black Friday. Also, it's my Christmas series. It's a Christmas mystery called On a Winter's Night. The follow-up to my last year's successful book, A Winter's Night. Find out what happens to the siblings who get stuck in their house in a snowstorm and there's no cell service. So that'll be out on Amazon. Plus, part of all my books are out on Amazon. James Lott Jr. on Amazon Books. James Lott Jr. on SoundCloud. You can listen to all my music on there. But I'm James Lott Jr. on every streaming platform you can think of. I'm James Lott Jr. on TikTok. I'm a TikTok star, apparently. I don't even know. I just talk. I don't do any of the dances. I'm not a savage and that stuff. I just talk on there, and I have over 3 million likes. 3 million views. 500,000 likes. I have like 15,000 followers. It's crazy. I don't know. I've been on this since January. I don't know what I'm doing. But follow me on that. And as I always say all the time, you can follow me where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. on all the social media platforms everywhere. I made it easy for you. Google me and you'll see all the crap that I do. And you can find me there too. And JLJ Media is on YouTube and all streaming platforms from iHeartRadio to Apple to Spotify to Google to Deezer, Castbox, Podcast Addict, Podbean, Podchaser. It is everywhere. I got it approved everywhere. Check out my shows. I have everything from Star Wars to soaps to organizing, life coaching. I am a certified life coach. A lottofhelp.com. It's Lott with 2 T's. Go there for my rates and what I offer. I'm also a professional organizer, a super organizer. Go there and you can find out what I do for organizing, which I'm here for hire on both. And I think that's everything. Music, books, TV. Yeah, I think it's everything.
I think it's absolutely brilliant. And Kirsten says, I'm so grateful to be on Mistletoe Road. I can't wait to listen. And JLJ.
The trailer's out, Adam. The trailer is out for Mistletoe Road. And I posted it out again today. Just take a listen. It's on all my social media.
I can't wait to check that out. And JLJ Media Christmas, 100%. And oh, you are too kind, Kirsten. Fabulous interview. Thank you, James and Adam. More James than Adam, but even still, thank you so much. And again, thank you guys for watching. For James Lott Jr., I'm According to Woods. And I mean, I warmly encourage you to maybe like, share, and subscribe to this very podcast on Facebook and YouTube. I mean, James, you're subscribed, right?
I am subscribed. I subscribe to your YouTube. I subscribe to all your social media. I don't know about Facebook. I look at Facebook. But if I'm not, I'm going to go on Facebook tonight and subscribe. But I am on YouTube. I follow you on Twitter and on Instagram. You guys have to follow him, please. I'll post in my stories, of course. I'll make sure you see where he is. Make it easy for you. I can spoon feed it for you. Trust me. You have no excuse not to follow him. If you're a fan of mine, become a fan of his. I don't know all the stuff he talks about. If you're a fan of mine, But follow him and see what he's talking about. He may have something you might like. So I say go over there and follow him. And Adam, I mean, what you're doing is great. I think you are a person like everybody else out there who's trying to make it. So you're a good example of a strong Black man who's trying to do great content and who is pushing through a difficult time. So and you're from Inglewood, so and you're a Taurus like I am, with a gap in your teeth. So
yes, I know. We're and we went to the same high school, so I mean we're family now, dude. I love you. I'm just saying.
I love you too. I am your slightly older brother.
Yeah, like 6 months. I think you got 6 months on me. You know, and Kirsten, thank you so much. I subscribe, hit that like button. Thank you, dear. I warmly appreciate it. But I mean, if you don't and are not convinced by James, myself, or Kirsten, I mean, here's Zeta Zhang for you.